Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Elisa, not Alyssa, and today we're going to learn how to pronounce Italian names. Let me preface this video by saying that I am not a native speaker of Italian. Italian is not my first language, it is actually my third language, but my pronunciation is pretty accurate. It's good enough for the purposes of this video. Why am I making this video? I'm making this video because it can be very frustrating if you do not have a common name. I also am making this video because I want to encourage people to not be afraid to ask someone to say their name again. If their name is difficult for you, just say, listen, I really want to say your name properly. Do you mind just telling me again and making sure I say it properly? I personally do this all the time. At work, there was an Indian lady and she told me her name, but she said it in a very anglicized way, and I could tell that it was very anglicized. I'm like, but how do you actually say your name? Like, in your language, how do you say your name? And I was able to get it right. And I think she appreciated that. I think people appreciate it when you put the effort to say their name properly. So, to begin our saying names properly adventure, we're gonna start this story with a friend named Giovanni. And Giovanni traveled far and wide, all the way from the faraway land of Italy, and he made his way to Canada, only to have people say, "What's your name? Giovanni? Giovanni, yeah, that's your name, totally." Without taking a second to try to say it properly, to just make any effort at all to make it sound like what his name actually is. And this poor fellow was frustrated. He was frustrated because no one could say his name right. And whenever he has to call the bank, he can't say, "My name is Giovanni," last name. He has to say, "Hello, my name is Giovanni." So I am making this video to prevent this from happening ever again. So we can all be heroes here. Let's learn to pronounce some Italian names. I'm going to give you some overall rules for Italian pronunciation so that if you see a name that's not in this video, then you can figure it out logically. I also will make other videos covering specific rules of pronunciation. I do already have a video on how to pronounce the R in Italian, the single R and the double R. For example, double consonants in Italian are very different, the R's are very different, and they just have some specific rules that you should know. If you are learning Italian, then you probably know some of these rules, but if you don't speak Italian at all, I just want to give you something general, just so you can get an idea of what the general pronunciation rules of this language are. So basically, in Italian, everything is pronounced. And I don't mean Giovanni, like I don't mean the I in Giovanni is pronounced, because it's not. But what I mean is that everything is consistent, okay? There are rarely exceptions to pronunciation in Italian. So everything you see will be pronounced in the context of the language rules. For example, if you see a double consonant, in English we have double consonants that are written, but we don't have double consonants that are spoken. For example, the word comment, that's not a double M, okay? But in Italian, you would pronounce that as an actual double M. I don't know how many other languages have double consonants, but Italian definitely has a lot of them, and they're really hard for English speakers. They're even still hard for me. I have to focus on them, and I will make a video talking about that. In general, vowels are much tighter in Italian. Vowels in English are very loose and very, like the mouth and the jaw and everything is much more relaxed, I find. Whereas in Italian, everything's much tighter. The vowels are very precise. So, having given you this lengthy introduction, let's get into the actual names. I'm going to start with some famous names that I hear all the time that we say horribly. And by the way, I just want to say, I'm a native English speaker. I'm making fun of myself too. Okay, we all do this. We all pronounce their names horribly. They do sound very bad to the ear. We might be used to people saying our names wrong because we're much more used to immigrants, basically. Like if you're Canadian or American or Australian or whatever, pretty much every English-speaking country is a multicultural country. So we're used to hearing English with an accent, and we're used to hearing even maybe our names with an accent. So it might not bother you as much as it might bother an Italian person. Before we get into the names, I wanted to give you an example to illustrate how different an Italian name can sound when spoken by a native English speaker. Let's take the name Roberto Benigni, also known as Roberto Benigni. Let's listen.
The only movie I saw was the Life is Beautiful movie.
Oh, Roberto Benigni.
Because I love Roberto Benigni.
Entertaining.
Yeah.
Let's hear that again.
Roberto Benigni.
Because I love Roberto Benigni. Roberto Benigni.
Here's how it sounds when a native Italian speaker says it.
Roberto Benigni.
Roberto Benigni.
Roberto Benigni.
Roberto Benigni.
Do you hear the difference? It is hard to pronounce these names when you don't know the rules, so we're going to work on them together, hoping that you'll be more comfortable with it by the end of the video. Anyway, on to the names. The first name is Andrea Bocelli, which we usually say as Andrea Bocelli. Andrea Bocelli. So basically we're applying all the pronunciation rules of English and sticking them onto an Italian name so that DR becomes dr, which is kind of like a JR sound. Dr. Andrea Bocelli. Bocelli, okay? So we're using all of these short vowels in English and putting them onto this name. Where we're supposed to pronounce it, Andrea Bocelli. Andrea Bocelli. This name is a really good one because the name Andrea is really, really popular in Italy. I always see the name Andrea, and it can be hard when you're seeing it for the first time because we have the name Andrea in English, which is a girl's name, whereas Andrea is a boy's name. So what you need to do is you need to tighten those vowels. Instead of saying an, when we have an N, basically, it's a very nasally sound because basically like you're cutting off the sound from coming out your mouth and it's coming out of your nasal pharynx. If you hold an N sound like the sound is basically traveling up and out your nose. So that's where we get that really nasally sound. We don't want that nasally sound. That doesn't exist in this name. So it's ah. That's the A sound. Ah. Andrea. So notice how every letter is pronounced. Andrea. 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 So you need to practice the vowels basically if they're hard for you. A, E, Andrea. And the last name is Bocelli. So most people know that that C becomes a ch sound in Italian. So it's not Bocelli, it's Bocelli. Bocelli. There is a double L in this name. So the double consonant needs to be pronounced. What does that mean? How do you pronounce a double consonant? You basically hold that sound. Depending on what the letter is, sometimes you just make a pause and sometimes you hold the sound. So in this case, the L, we're just gonna hold our tongue up. So Bocelli, Bocelli, not Bocelli, Bocelli. So just listen to the way that I say it and try to mimic it as best you can. Even if your pronunciation is not going to be perfect on these names, they'll at least be better. Even if you can't get the Italian R, if you're at least making the rest of the sounds in the name close to what it's supposed to be, it'll sound a million times better. Okay, so that's the first name, Andrea Bocelli. Hopefully it's a bit clearer now, not Andrea Bocelli. So obviously he's a very famous singer. Another very famous singer is Luciano Pavarotti. Luciano Pavarotti. Brits don't do this, but in the North American accent, we turn all these T's that would be a hard T if you're from the UK into a kind of D sound, Pavarotti. Obviously, that's not how you pronounce it in Italian. Okay, so that I in Luciano is not pronounced. And what I mean by that is the purpose of the I in this name is to make the C a soft C, to make it a ch sound. Because basically, just to explain it quickly, in Italian, if you have a C and then you have an A, it's ca. Or if you have C and then an O, it's co. In order to have that cha sound, you need to put an I there to soften the C. That's the purpose of the I. And in most of these names, when you see an I after a C or after a G, it's just to soften the C and to soften the G. So, Lu, not Lu. Lu. I don't know if you can hear how like loose that is. Lu, Lu. Like everything's super relaxed in my jaw. It's Lu. Luciano, Luciano. Everything's much tighter. Everything's much more precise. It's less relaxed, I guess. Not Lu, Lu, Luciano, Luciano, not Luciano, 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 Luciano. You're probably gonna feel weird, but just say it with me, who cares? That's the only way you're gonna improve, right? You gotta make a fool of yourself until you can actually say it properly. So for his last name, it's Pavarotti, Pavarotti, not Pavarotti, okay? Pavarotti, Pavarotti. Same thing with the A sound. Oh, also, the P's in Italian don't have as much air coming out of them. This is gonna be very basic, by the way, very general. I'm not gonna go extremely into detail with all the sounds and how they're different from English. I will make future videos on those. And if there's a specific one you want to see, leave me a comment and I'll maybe do that one first. But basically the P, you're not expelling as much air. It's a much tighter P. Pa, not pa, not a, pa, a. Pavarotti, Pavarotti. Be careful with that T on there because that is a double T. So this is an example of a double consonant that you can't hold in place. For the L, you can hold it. When we said bocelli, your tongue stays touching the roof of your mouth. Bocelli, bocelli. Whereas for this word with the T, you can't hold a T, okay? It's not even a vocalized sound. It's just air, basically. So what you do is you make a little tiny pause before the T. Pavarotti, Pavarotti. Hopefully that helps. The next name is a famous actor who has an Italian background, and it's Leonardo DiCaprio. Obviously, we always hear his name said like this. Leonardo DiCaprio. Leonardo DiCaprio. And I'm not exaggerating any of these pronunciations because this is just applying the rules of English pronunciation to these Italian names. But he does have an Italian background, so I just wanted to use that as an example of how different they are. You're used to how his name is said with English pronunciation, so I just want to show you how it would be properly said if you were saying it in Italian. So, it's not li, okay? That E in Italian is an E. So it's Leonardo, 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 not Leonardo. So tighten that O at the end. So in the English O, we go O, O. Your lips close towards the end of that sound, whereas in Italian it doesn't. So O, 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 O. I'm sure you can even see it, but try it yourself and you'll notice it. So Leonardo. And then his last name is not DiCaprio, DiCaprio. Do you hear how much air is coming on that C? DiCaprio, 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 DiCaprio. There's not as much air coming out. Di, tight I, DiCaprio. You don't necessarily have to worry about memorizing all the rules because this person is going to tell you what their name is. So you're going to hear it the right way first and they're going to repeat it. This is just to give you practice in saying it properly and to give you a couple of hints and tips to help you say them better. The next one is another Leonardo. It's Leonardo da Vinci, not Leonardo da Vinci. So we already covered the first name. The last name is da Vinci, not da Vinci. The good thing is that we are aware that that C often makes a ch sound. So that's good. We already say da Vinci. So we have the C down. It's not da, it's da. Da Vinci, da Vinci, Leonardo da Vinci. So it's the same thing, it's the tight vowels. And you'll notice as you hear these names that they all follow the exact same trend. It's not like in English. In English, it's actually harder because everything is an exception in English, whereas in Italian, everything is pronounced pretty much the same way. So in a way, we're kind of lucky. The next one is a very, very famous poet, and his name is Dante Alighieri. We don't really say his last name that much. We usually just say Dante, Dante. It's not Don, Don. See how nasally that A is? Dante, A. It's making like a long A sound in English, which that's not how it is in Italian. So it's Dante, E. Remember that E we heard before in Andrea? It's the same. Dante, Dante. Now for the last name, the GH in Italian is a hard G. Anyway, it's Alighieri, Alighieri. You'll start to hear all the patterns and it's gonna get easier, I promise. Another one is a very famous fashion designer, Giorgio Armani. Giorgio Armani. Here again, we see that I softening the G, so it doesn't become Giorgo or Gorgo, okay? So we have two I's there. Giorgio, Giorgio, okay? If you got the R, this one's not that hard. Giorgio, O. So listen to that O, it's O, O. Giorgio, O. Giorgio. And the last name is really straightforward if you know the rules. Armani, Armani. The next name is a name from a character in a video game called Assassin's Creed, in the second Assassin's Creed, which I've played like 10 times. Anyway, that's not the point. The good thing about this one is in the game, whether you played in English or in Italian, you do hear his name pronounced properly throughout the video game. So you'll hear Ezio Auditore, not Ezio. So that Z, it's like, think of the word pizza. We actually did take in this pronunciation rule when we say pizza, that S sound, Ezio, Ezio. So that rule applies to the name Ezio. Now the I isn't extremely strong in this name. It's not Ezio, Ezio, it's Ezio, Ezio. The I is very quick. We kind of skip over it a little bit. And the last name is Auditore. So that AU, you'll see in a name like maybe Laura in English. So it's not O, it's not that sound, it's ow. See how in Italian all of the vowels are pronounced? Even when we have two vowels beside each other, each one is pronounced individually. So, auditore, ow, auditore, auditore. I do want to come back to the name Giovanni because of my poor friend, Giovanni. Now, we already know that the I softens the G and all that stuff. Giovanni. The hard one in this one is the double N. Okay, so like I said, you just want to hold that N. So when your tongue goes up in the back of your mouth to block off the air and push it out through your nose, you want to hold that for a little bit longer than you're used to. It's really, really weird for us English speakers. Like I said before, it's still hard for me, but it's necessary to say these names properly. So some other popular names are Marco, Marco. In English we would say Marco, Marco, Marco. Marco, Marco. The next name is Angelo, Angelo, not Angelo. I don't even know how I would have said this 4 years ago because we obviously have the word angel, but because it's an O on the end, we kind of know it's an Italian name, so maybe we would say Angelo, Angelo, but that O at the end is really ugly to an Italian's ears. Angelo, O, it's Angelo, Angelo. Other names that might be difficult are Pasquale, Pasquale. Maybe we would have said Pasquale, Pasquale. We put that A at the end when we see an E. Like the same thing with Dante, we put an A at the end. But yes, it's Pasquale. So that QU makes a Qua, which shouldn't be too hard because we do have that in English. For example, in the word quote. So you shouldn't have any trouble producing the sounds in this name. You just have to know how to say it, how it sounds. So Pasquale, Pasquale. We might hear Pascal. The equivalent of Jacob in Italian is Jacopo. So we have that, we still have the J, it's just not pronounced as a J, obviously. It's pronounced as a Y, which is from Latin, basically. Might be confusing because the J sound doesn't actually exist in Italian. So when I first saw this name, I have a friend named Jacopo. Anyway, I was like, how on earth do you pronounce your name? Because there's no J in Italian, so how do I say this? I don't know what I would have said, Jacopo or Jacopo. Even if we know it's a Y sound, we would say Jacopo, Jacopo. That would be more natural to us, but you want to say Jacopo. This one sounds horrible in English, okay? The name is Giuseppe, Giuseppe. In English, what do we say? Giuseppe. Giuseppe. Yeah, it's bad. Like, even now that I'm not a native speaker of Italian, but because I know how it's said properly, it just like, it hurts. My ears are bleeding. Again, we have the I after the G, so it's soft. Giù. The S, when you have a single S in Italian, it's a Z sound. So we would get Giuseppe. Pretend it's Z. Giuseppe, not Giuseppe. I don't know where the E comes at the end. Like, I don't know why we say the E sound at the end. I can't figure it out, but whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is, we're gonna fix it. Giuseppe, Giuseppe. So the next name is the equivalent of Carl, which is Carlo. This is another popular name in Italy, Carlo, not Carlo, Carlo. Again, same rules, Carlo. The vowels are tight. We have the Italian R, obviously. And the last male name I have for you is Mattia. We have Mattia and also Matteo. Those are both very, very popular. Let's start with Mattia. So we have the double T. So you have to make a pause right after the A. Mattia, Mattia. The I and the A are pronounced pretty strongly. Mattia, Ia. It's like, it becomes almost like a Y sound in between the I and the A. That's how strong it is when you put two vowels beside each other. Mattia, not Mattia, Mattia, with that T with tons of air being expelled out of the mouth. You want to reduce the amount of air. So the next name is Matteo. Same rules. We have the M-A-T-T, that pause right after the A and before the T's to make it a double consonant. But instead of Ia, we have Eo, Eo. Mattia, Matteo. So same thing. It becomes kind of like a Y sound in between the E and the O, and they're pronounced pretty strongly. Good. So those are all the male names that I had, names that I hear all the time and that I thought were really common. Okay, so that's the end of this video. I'm sure it was very long. If you stayed until now, I love you dearly. If you think this was a helpful video, please give me a like, leave me a comment, let me know if it helped you improve. Let me know if there were specific names that were hard for you or easy for you. Which ones did you get right away and which ones took you some more time? I'm curious, so let me know. And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. I'm glad you came to hang out with me sitting on the floor in this room. I really enjoyed making this video. I am planning on making more videos to cover certain pronunciation rules in Italian, the ones especially that were really hard for me. If there's a specific one you want first or something that's really important to you that you want to hear that maybe you can't find somewhere else, I don't know. Let me know. Leave me a comment and let me know. And make sure you subscribe to my channel because I will have videos coming out every single week. These videos will be about learning Italian and learning English and about culture and all sorts of stuff. So I hope you join me on this YouTube adventure and I'm having fun. So I hope you guys have fun with me. Thank you guys so much for watching part 1 of this video. I will have part 2 coming out shortly, so make sure you are subscribed and then you'll know when it comes out so I don't have to harass you. So thanks again and I'll see you next week. Bye.